Hi there, my name is Taro Iwamoto. I am a Feldenkrais practitioner, and I am guiding you through a Feldenkrais awareness through movement lesson today. And before we begin a lesson, and please have a firm pillow or a stack of small towels nearby for your head support as you might need it. I have 3 tips so you can get more positive experience from each lesson. And tip number 1, move very slowly. And tip number 2, move within your own comfort range and don't push and don't strain. And lastly, tip number 3, be curious and have fun. So with that, let's begin a lesson. And go ahead and lie on your back. And now, bring your arms, left arm at the shoulder height on the floor, and then place your right hand on the front of your left shoulder. And from there, and begin to slide your right hand towards the left hand, towards the left elbow. And notice how your hand slides over to the left side. Your right hand slides to the left side. And when does the movement become difficult? How far does your right hand slides to the left without making much an effort? And come back. And this is another reference movement. We'll come back to the end. Okay, bring your arms down by your side and bend your legs, both legs. Feet are about shoulder width apart, knees apart. And you're going to hug your shoulders and put your left hand underneath your right shoulder blade, and then put your right hand under the right shoulder. So you're going to give yourself a big hug. And using your left hand to lift your right shoulder away from the floor just a little bit. Don't make a big movement. Just lift a few inches away from the floor. Lift your right shoulder blade, right shoulder away from the floor just a little bit. And then let it come back down. And notice how the shoulder or the weight between the two shoulders and changes as you lift your right shoulder. Can you feel how the weight shifts over to the left shoulder? So you can feel more pressure, more contact on the left shoulder and left shoulder blade as you lift your right shoulder. And let it come back down. And pay attention to your breathing. And try to lift your shoulder, right shoulder, without holding your breath. If you're holding your breath, then you're probably making it too much of an effort. You're lifting your shoulder maybe a little too far. And try to reduce that effort so you don't have to hold your breath, you don't change your breathing. And also notice how your chest is turning and shifting. As you lift your right shoulder, and can you feel the chest is also turning a little bit to the left side? And come back. Okay, uncross your arms, rest your arms on the floor. And come back to the same positions. If your arms get tired, you can switch the crossing of your arms, and that's fine. Okay, whichever feels comfortable. And using your left hand to lift your right shoulder away from the floor. Same movement. And notice what you do with your head, with your neck. When you lift your right shoulder, Does your head stay still or does your head turn? If it turns, which direction does it turn? And go ahead and allow your head to turn to the left. So the head turns the same direction as your chest. When you lift your right shoulder, allow your head to turn to the left. So the chest and the head turn the same directions. But you're not really you're not trying to turn your head more than your chest. So the head only turns as far as your chest turns. When you allow your head to turn to the left, and then notice what it does to the quality of the movement, lifting the chest. Uncross your arms, rest your arms. Okay, cross your arms again. And this time, you're going to let your head turn the opposite direction. When you lift the same shoulder, you lift your right shoulder with your left hand and turn in your chest to the left. But at the same time, allow your head to turn a little bit to the right. Does your head still turn easily? Or is it more difficult to turn your head the opposite direction? And if it is difficult for you, and the key to make this movement easier is to reduce an effort and reduce the speed. So anytime you have more difficulty and more challenges with any movements, because you're not familiar with that movement patterns, and reduce the pace and reduce the speed and an effort, and so that the movement becomes a little bit easier and the movement pattern becomes more familiar to you. Okay, let's take a break and cross your arms. Put your arms down on the floor. And put your legs down straight on the floor too. And slowly bend your right leg. Bend your right knee. Stand your right foot. And slowly begin to lift your right hip away from the floor so the pelvis turns to the left. And then let it come back down to the floor. Start with a small movement and be sure that you are lifting your right hip only, not both hips. So can you feel how the pelvis turns, shifts the weight to the left side, so the more weight goes over to the left side, and come back. And can you feel the turning and rotation taking place through the spine as well? When you lift your hip, right hip, turn the pelvis to the left and feel the turning through the spine too. And how far up through the spine can you feel the movement? And if you pay attention to your ribs, when you lift your right hip, can you feel the weight shifts over to the left side of your rib cage? So the right side of the rib cage moves away from the floor. So the weight transfers to the left side. Maybe you can feel the weight shifting to the left shoulder blade as well. So you might pay attention to that. Okay, and take a quick pause. Hug your shoulders again. You can switch the crossing of your arms. And keep your arms crossed across the chest, and then lift your right hip away from the floor. And you can visualize as you lift your right hip and turn in the pelvis, and then that turning, it moves up through the spine, and your shoulder also turns, your shoulders and the chest also turn as you go up higher and higher, and then you begin to lift your right shoulder away from the floor, and you're allowing your head to turn a little bit to the left side too. So the whole thing sequentially, and starting to turn to the left, and starting from the hip, right hip, allowing the spine to turn, allowing your shoulders and chest to turn, allowing your head to turn. Can you feel that sequential turning taking place? And as you release the hip, letting the hip come back down, and everything is starting to rotate back to the starting point. So without making any effort, that you can turn and lift your shoulder by lifting your hip. So you can feel the connection of the hip to the shoulder and to the head, to the spine. And go ahead and pause. And now bring your left arm at the shoulder height on the floor, and put your right hand on the front of your left shoulder like you did in the very beginning. Now begin to lift your right hip, and then allowing your right hand to slide to the left. And then as you lower the hip, letting your hand slide back to the starting point. A few times. Okay, and lengthen your right leg. Okay, and continue to slide your right hand to the left towards the left wrist. And pay attention what you do with your pelvis, and you can allow your pelvis to turn a little bit to the left too. And notice the quality of the sliding your right hand to the left. And how does it compare now? How does it compare to the very beginning when you slide your hand to the left? And can you feel more participation? Okay, and can you feel the connection of the arm to your spine, to your pelvis, and the hip? And can you now reach and slide your hand more easily and more comfortably? And bring your arms down to the floor. There are many opportunities every day that you can apply this lesson to. So every time you reach, you pay attention how you reach and the connection between your arm and your torso and in your hips. so that you can reach with the greater ease and in comfort. Thank you for watching and participating. I hope you enjoyed this lesson and discovered something interesting and then helpful that you can apply to your everyday life. You can find more videos on my YouTube channel, and if you have any questions, you can contact me through my website. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.